There's plenty of European football on at the moment, European qualifiers taking place. Tonight it's England who take on Poland, but it's receiving a lot of attention off the pitch for what might happen before a ball is even kicked. The England players are expected to take a knee in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. The head of the Polish Football Association, I hope I'm pronouncing this properly, Zbigniew Bonik, has publicly declared that he is against the anti-racism gesture at the game. Now, what's been happening in Polish football, if you don't know, there's been plenty of right-wing fermentation, particularly with fans, ultra-right-wing fans of local football teams. Now, Rafał Pankowski is with the organization Never Again. It is an anti-racism movement in Poland. Rafał, thanks so much for joining us here on the Midday Report.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's nice talking to you again. Now, Polish football, in terms of fans, have seemingly taken a right-wing slant, racist chants often heard in stadiums. What's called fans that are called ultras have been, holding gatherings outside stadiums with racist and offensive banners. Even there's been a tradition of even the image of Janusz Waluś, the man who killed Chris Hani, his image being presented in football stadiums in Poland. But what I want to know is, has this sort of right-wing slant resonated, filtered across the Polish FA, or is it reined in amongst fans?
Well, I absolutely agree with you. For too long, for years now, we have seen the infiltration of far right and racist ideology in Polish football, and unfortunately, it looks like the current head of the Polish Football Association, Mr. Boniek, is encouraging it when he says he's absolutely against the anti-racist gesture ahead of the game. He is, of course, exercising a subtle or not so subtle pressure on his own players, who I think in many cases would want to join in with their English counterparts, and many of those Polish players, they play in clubs abroad, including English clubs, so they understand the meaning and the importance of the anti-racist initiative, and I am afraid the Polish FA is not helping in this situation. And of course, racism is a global problem, and it also means it is present in Polish football, but also the Black Lives Matter movement is a global movement, and to their credit, many sports people have supported it and have participated in it, and I think that has to be appreciated and not blocked or and not condemned.
Rafał, you are a professor of politics and sociology. I'd like your take on the symbolism, the gesture of taking a knee. One could argue that it is an important symbol, an important gesture, but another side that has also anti-racism, beliefs and standpoints could also say that with so many football players, cricket players, rugby players taking the knee, that gesture almost becomes diluted, because the real meaning, the real symbolism behind that taking the knee is lost if, everybody is doing it with maybe not even the most purest of intentions.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand. I think you have a point here. Of course, if it is just a gesture, it can be it can be superficial, and it can be at some point it can be meaningless if if it is only a gesture and nothing else. But I think sometimes a gesture is a beginning. A gesture can be a beginning in terms of awareness raising and a kind of signal, especially towards the fans. I think a gesture can be a beginning in terms of thinking about systemic racism in sports and in society at large. And I think there is a lot of room for action from civil society organizations such as the Never Again Association, but also there is a lot of room for action on the part of institutions such as UEFA or FIFA, who have been criticized for years for, on the one hand, supporting anti-racism, but on the other hand, not doing enough to affect change. And I think there is a lot of room for everybody to act, both in the world of sports and beyond it. But I think gestures also create an important element of reality. They also contribute to this kind of awareness, which I think is growing, but it is also meeting with some resistance, and I think especially in some parts of the world, and Central and Eastern Europe is one example. This resistance is significant, and of course it is in the context of the xenophobic climate that exists in countries like Poland today.
Rafał Pankowski, he is with the organization in Poland, Never Again. It's an anti-racism movement. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Midday Report in South Africa.